Alright, let me be real with you for a second. I don't know if there's anyone in this whole world who is more controversial than Conor McGregor. His rise to the absolute top of the sport from nothing in such a short amount of time, followed by his disastrous fall to complete irrelevancy, has been nothing short of incredible to watch as a UFC fan. Like I'm telling you, no matter if you hate him or love him as a delusional fan who believes he's coming back to fight in the UFC anytime soon, we all still have to admit, this dude changed the sports we love forever in such a major way. So today, I'll tell you all about his highest highs, incredible knockouts, and the moments where he fell short and honestly got humiliated in the octagon. Every single story has a climax, right? And if I had to condense everything Conor McGregor is into one single fight, it would most definitely be the performance of a lifetime he had against Jose Aldo. I'm pretty sure we all remember the knockout, right? 13 seconds, boom, Aldo's sleeping. But what people forget is this fight had like a whole year of build-up. And I'm not talking about a normal-sized build-up with a few press conferences here and there. No, this was very different. During the whole set of interviews and shows Conor and Aldo were doing around the world, Conor, of course, played the role of irritating, kind of crazy dude very well, like he always does. I know, probably it's not even a role anymore, but anyway. I mean it when I say this, the mental warfare aspect of this fight was a big part of the whole thing and everyone was aware of that. So to think, after all that jazz, Conor just went out there and destroyed Aldo in under 13 seconds, it still feels beyond crazy almost 10 years later. Yeah, Conor may be a shell of himself right now, unfortunately, but no one is taking this away from him. People tend to forget because it's been way too long, but the Aldo Conor beat wasn't the washed Aldo of today in 2025. Come on, it's prime Jose Aldo we are talking about here. The guy was undefeated for like what, 10 years straight, and also had 7 title defenses in the featherweight division. So yeah, Conor didn't knock out the old man Aldo, he knocked out the absolute best version of him. The craziness that is Conor's career didn't end or slow down here, of course. Just try to guess what he did after knocking Jose Aldo out. One would think a reasonable person would defend the title he just won, right? Oh well, I don't even know what to say to you, but as we progress on his story, you will see that Conor is the furthest someone can be from a reasonable person, okay? Instead of defending his title, Conor immediately decided to go for double champ status, and UFC actually gave him the shot for the lightweight belt, which was unheard of back in the day. But here's where it gets crazy. RDA, the lightweight champion at the time, pulls out with an injury, and instead of waiting, Conor somehow ends up with a fight against Nate Diaz up at welterweight, moving 2 weight classes up for no reason basically. Looking back at it now, I guess this is where we saw the first couple cracks in Conor's unbeatable aura he had back then. Like, I'm not even kidding, up until this point, this guy really felt like he was unstoppable. The first Nate fight though exposed something huge, which is when you take away Conor's size advantage and when his left hand doesn't drop people the moment it touches them, he did not really have much else in his arsenal. At the end of the day, this loss somehow made Conor even bigger. He didn't just go back to featherweight or try to get that lightweight fight going, no, of course he had to get his revenge, right? Gotta give him his credit, even though it was a very close fight, Conor managed to get his revenge against Nate in their second fight. Thankfully, he didn't stay at welterweight or anything crazy like that, and was set to face the lightweight champion Eddie Alvarez. I think when people are describing peak Conor, he was like this, he was like that, if you just stopped them and said, okay, stop yapping, tell me which fight I need to watch to understand how good this guy really was, they would probably say, hey man, just watch the Aldo fight and Eddie fight back to back. I mean, if they said that, they would have a point. It is 2 title fights in 2 different divisions, one of them is only 13 seconds anyway, you know? Right as we are getting into Conor's career's highest high, I want you to soak this moment in, okay? Not only to understand how good he really was, but also I think knowing how good he was will make his disastrous fall even more impactful and dramatic, if that makes any sense. So yeah, here we are, November 2016, Madison Square Garden. This was the first UFC event in New York, and oh boy, does it feel crazy to think about a time when we weren't even getting UFC at MSG. What I wanna highlight about this fight is that Conor didn't just win. I would say it was a total masterclass instead of just a simple win. Eddie Alvarez was legit, man. This wasn't some easy fight, yet Conor made him look like he didn't belong in there at all. I'ma tell it like it is. Conor was pretty much toying with Eddie the whole fight. He dropped Eddie in the first round, dropped him in the second. It was a complete destruction all the way through. I hope you enjoyed the positive end of this video, cause right now we will go over how Conor went from a serious UFC champion into whoever or whatever he is today. I don't even want to cover the boxing stuff in detail, but just know, after Conor became a double champ, he spent almost the entirety of 2017 to get that fight against Floyd, which he lost of course, course, he couldn't possibly win that, you know. After making bank against Floyd, Conor came back to the UFC and he was set to fight for the lightweight belt yet again. He was stripped of this belt due to his inactivity, so this really was a make or break moment for his MMA career. The thing is, his opponent, after not fighting for 2 whole years, was one of the fighters who you definitely don't want to face without proper preparation. Yeah, you know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Khabib Nurmagomedov. Remember how I said the build-up for the Aldo fight was insane? Oh well, I guess even that was nothing compared to this one. Khabib versus Conor still is and probably always will be the biggest fight ever in the entire history of UFC by every measure you can possibly think of. As for the fight itself, while Conor showed impressive takedown defense in the first round or so, he got dropped in the second and Khabib took over completely from then on. Or let me put it this way, just like he said he would, Khabib literally smashed McGregor that night. Setting all the jokes aside, man, I feel like losing the way he did to Khabib broke Conor on a fundamental level, if that makes any sense. Like, we have to admit, he was never the same after that. I think mentally, he was completely checked out or something. After losing to Khabib, I just cannot understand why did he go up to 170 to fight Cowboy of all people. What I'm saying is this, we all knew Cowboy was beyond washed, so that whole adventure for Conor had no logic behind it whatsoever. But also at the same time, I guess we saw what would happen if he fought at lightweight instead. Because right after that easy win at welterweight, Conor came back down to face Dustin. And for the first time in his career, he lost by getting knocked out. I feel like I don't even need to go over what exactly happened after. Conor fought Dustin again, his leg broke, so on and so forth. It is unfortunately nothing that's even worth mentioning if you ask me. The moral of the story is this. Conor fans claim he was never the same after the Floyd fight cause he made lots of money. Well, that could be the case for sure, but if you look at it objectively, the moment he lost to Khabib, he was just done mentally. I'm not saying he looked terrible against Cowboy or even Dustin, yet I really think it doesn't take a genius to figure out the Conor McGregor after the Khabib fight was just not the same guy as the one we watched during his rise to the top. Conor was special, okay? No one in their right mind would ever try to deny that. Yet, his trash-talking skills, his scandals, his insane stuff overall almost always overshadowed his actual performances. Of course, this comes with the exception of what I consider to be his highest highs, which would be the Aldo fight, as well as the Eddie Alvarez one. So at the end of the day, if I were to answer how good was Conor really, my honest assessment would be that at his peak he was pretty much unstoppable, but that peak lasted about as long as the Aldo fight, which is super duper short unfortunately. When you think about it, it is beyond crazy to just look at Conor in 2025, because he is pretty much unrecognizable if you got to know him at his best, right? I'll leave it at saying Conor was amazing, he could have been a lot better for sure, and I guess that's the tragic part. It is what it is though, let me know what you think. Do you think Conor will ever come back? Would you put him top 10 or even top 5 all time? I'll be making sure to read every single comment, I promise you that. Last but definitely not least, please do not forget to subscribe, and until the next time, take care of yourself. Cheers!